Hello, guys. I hope you're doing okay and everything is working for you. Today is a new day. We have a new video, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're gonna talk about a very interesting topic that I saw on Facebook or Instagram, I think. And the post was saying that your life changes when you realize the part you play in your suffering. And that made me think a lot because I feel like we always contribute suffering to an external source. It's always the devil's fault, it was the witches of my family, it always maybe my parent didn't do this enough, it always maybe they don't love me enough, they didn't understand, they didn't believe in me. And all those things are valid and all those things are true because if your parent did not give you a certain background, there's some things you won't be able to do well. If you didn't grow up in a family that don't have money, there's an opportunity you will miss because money means options. If you didn't grow up in a very healthy family, it will affect how you make decisions in relationships. If there are a lot of things that were not given to you and you don't have the resources to, it is valid for you to say that that contributing to your suffering. But I think one thing that changes the game is when you take responsibility for your own suffering. And I feel like that has been one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn over the years. I went through depression for a long time, for like over 3 years. And the thing with it is that I never I never admitted that I had a contribution to my suffering. I never admitted that there's some things that I were not doing right. I never admitted that due to my depression, there's some habit that I created that have made me stay in that season longer. And I feel like this year is the first year where I'm like literally sitting with myself and being like, okay, there's some things we need to change. There's some things, it's true, life happened, we were depressed, we didn't get maybe this from this, maybe church didn't give you this, maybe family didn't give you this, maybe circumstances didn't give you this, but you are in a space where you have to be your own savior somehow. You are in a situation where if you keep contributing your suffering to other people, you might stay depressed. And I feel like this year, at least from September 2023 to now, I've been less depressed because I have understood my contribution, because I have understood how much I was a big part of my failure. I understood how much I was like the biggest host of my pity parties. I was a DJ, I was everything. I've understood how much I didn't believe in myself, how much I talked down to myself, how much when things go wrong, I isolate myself instead of praying. I isolate myself instead of reading my Bible. Instead of standing up and go for a walk, I stay stuck in my room for like hours because it's just easier for me to hide and wallow in my sadness, and that will keep going on and on. And yeah, and I'll be like, that's what depressed people do. I took my depression as an identity. And I'm not saying that depression is something that a person choose, but I'm saying there's some things that you can choose to do that can get you out of that position. There's some things you can choose to do that will get you out of that space. And when you accept the contribution that you have made to your own suffering, when you accept that, okay, in this area, this is what I did wrong. In this area, this is how I need to adjust. And the first thing you need to do, especially when you making this realization, and you will have an aha moment, if I will call it so, there are like a few steps that you go through when you realize that you have a part to play in your suffering and you're trying to not suffer anymore because you have suffered for many years and you're trying to just be in a better space, you're trying to be a better person. I think the first thing you need to do is admit it. Is be like, it's true, I've been depressed for a long time, it's true, I've been sad for a long time. And for you and for whoever you are, it doesn't have to be depression. It can be just you've been in a very toxic relationship that you don't know how to get out of. What? Yeah, get out of. Maybe it's you in the wrong place, you have the wrong friends. Maybe you're in a situation where you're in the wrong church and you don't know how to get out, and you know it's the right thing for you to do to no longer play a part in your suffering. Like, it's an acting job you don't get paid for, and it's too pricey anyway. Maybe you're trying to learn to have boundaries and you don't know how to have boundaries in relationships, and you never speak up your mind, so you suffer from that, and that's very dangerous. But the moment where you admit, like, this situation didn't go the way I wanted, I will not speak about the external factors because I have no control over them, but here's the contribution I made. I kept quiet when I could have spoken my mind. I said yes, even though I know I didn't want to do that. I let that person disrespect me, and I didn't let them know that I didn't like what they said. So they will move on and keep doing what they did because I didn't tell them it bothered me. I think when you learn that you play a big part in your suffering, the first thing after the first thing, as I said, you have to like accept, be like, okay, I'm my own villain. Like, I've been sabotaging myself for a while. And I think another thing that you learn how to do, you give yourself grace. And by that, I mean, you don't beat up yourself. You don't go like, oh, I'm horrible. I did this. I made this happen. That sounds great and very humbling because you're recognizing what you did wrong. But I think when you give yourself grace, you give yourself space to do better. You give yourself space to make better decisions. You give yourself space to be like accountable and to be kind to yourself and to be nice with yourself and be like, this is a new thing that I'm starting to do. I've been playing a part in my suffering for over 10 years, for over 6 years, maybe for you, maybe for over 5 years. And it's right now that I'm trying to figure out how to live a better life, to be a better person. I'm in my late 20s, and this is like, I feel like my first year where I'm figuring out what part I really play in my suffering, and I'm trying to grow and heal from it. And if you've been doing something for 20 years and trying to undo it, it's hard. You won't get it in the first few months. Maybe even the first few years, you won't get it completely. But you give yourself grace to try. You give yourself grace to stumble sometimes because you're trying something new. And I think the second thing you need to do, the third thing, I guess, when you realize you played a big part in your suffering, you forgive the people who hurt you. I feel like that's something that people don't talk about a lot, especially when you grow up in a church. I did grow up in a church environment. Church environment have been my life for most of my life, and church environment can be the worst environment there is. But one thing that I've learned that church sometimes downplays is how hard forgiveness is how hard forgiving people is, especially people who are family, maybe people who are in your life, people who are close to you, who don't understand how much they hurt you, who don't understand how much have affected you, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you trust yourself, the way you have esteem. That's very hard. And I think forgiveness is a process. I think it takes times and it takes layers, and you have to open yourself up to forgiving people, because there is no way you will be able to no longer be an actor in your suffering if bitterness is something you keep indulging in, if being angry is something you keep doing. I'm not saying that because I'm saying it easy to do. I'm not saying it easy to do. I think it's very hard. And I think that one of the main things that sometimes I suffer with, like, they're like, oh, I wish you didn't do that. Like, you don't know how much that affected me. You don't know how much that hurt my heart. You don't know how much that affected the way I walk, the way I talk, the way I have confidence in myself. But you have to forgive them first because you love God, because you don't want your relationship with God to be hindered, and you don't want your relationship with God to be affected. And second of all, you have to forgive them because you deserve to be free from suffering, because you deserve to be free from circumstance where it's hard, where it's heavy, where you don't know what to do. And that's what anger and unforgiveness does to you. You stay in a space where it's just dark. And I feel like there are certain people in my life I'm still dealing with that, because it's just life hits you hard and is not forgiving at all. But you have to learn to pivot, you have to learn to forgive. I think that is the most important thing, and forgive quickly. By that, I don't mean you have to not acknowledge the fact that you are hurt. You do, but you have to understand at the end of this, I have to be able to forgive the person who hurt me. I have to be able to forgive the person who did me wrong, because if I don't forgive them, I will stay in the cycle. And I think the fourth reason, I think it'll be the last one I'll talk about, or maybe I'll give you five because I feel nice today. And the fourth one I could give, which is a thing you do when you realize the part you play in your suffering, is strange, but you change the people you hang around. I don't know why, but I feel like that one is strong for me. change the people you hang around. Choose carefully who you choose to surround yourself with, especially when you're trying to redo life. When you feel like for long years you've been going through hard situations, for long years you've been going through cycles, try and change who you hang around. I feel like sometimes we get jaded in life because of the people we are around, and the people we are around have outgrown our seasons or outgrown who we are, or maybe they haven't, or maybe there's just nothing wrong with them. They're just not. It's no longer the time to be around them. I feel like sometimes you need to change who you are around, especially when you come from a very dark season, from depression, from sadness, from abusive situations. Change who you are around, because I promise you that there are people out there in the world who will value you in ways you have never imagined. You will find people who will believe in your calling more than yourself. You will find people be willing to contribute to your growth, to invest in your success, in your well-being, and they won't need you to do anything. Sometimes we get so stuck with what we know that we think that what we know is all that there is out there. And that's not true. What you know is not all there is out there. There is so much more. So for this year, please open your horizons. Go to conferences. Go even to parties. Go open yourself up to the world. And for this, I'm talking more to my Christian girls who are like me, who hates living in my house, like literally, absolutely hate doing that. But being social opens you up to different ways people see the world. It opens you up to different ways people perceive marriage, perceive growth, perceive peace, perceive finances. You can't just be surrounded by the people you know, the people you like. Have people outside of yourself who can help you go wherever you need to go. So have in mind, where are you trying to go? What kind of life am I trying to have? What kind of life am I trying to build? And who aligns with that? And that will help you a lot. And the last thing, I think this is the most important thing. If you didn't hear anything else I said, listen to this one. The moment you realize that you contributed a lot to your suffering, the biggest reason is because you no longer prioritize your relationship with God. I promise you, the moment where you go through long season of suffering, there's a level of devotion, there's a level of commitment that you abandoned. There's a level of awe when it comes to his presence, a level of humility when it comes to him. There's a level of reverence that you lost because you allowed life to, I'm not want to say allow, because life will hit you hard, because life hit you hard and now you're looking at your wounds and your wounds have become your identity. But that doesn't happen when you spend time with God. When you like daily, like it's hitting me hard today, but I'm gonna stay in your presence. I feel like for me that was the biggest reason for why my season stayed for a long time. It's not like I stopped, abandoned the faith or not, but I used to throw tantrums like, you hurt me today, I won't talk to you for 2 weeks. That was me talking to God. And I was like, and then at the end of the day, the one who suffered more was me, because there is no life outside of him, there is no peace outside of him, there is no abundance outside of him, there is no hope outside of him. The Bible says that he came to give us life and life in abundance. That means when you feel like your life is not abundant, maybe you're not walking with him anymore. And I think that's hard to admit, not even to admit, hard to do. It is hard to be human, to be a Christian, and submit yourself to him every day. Submit yourself to his will every day. Submit yourself to what he's saying, to his word. It is a commitment to follow God. It is a commitment, but it is the biggest privilege. And the moment you lose that, everything will start spiraling, because you no longer see the objective, you no longer know where you're going, because you're going where he's leading you. So if he's no longer with you, so who are you going with? So when you realize you play a big part in your own suffering, you have become your own shepherd. You have become your own God. And this is what it looks like when man leads himself. he is lost, he is confused, because man is a creation and he was made to be led by his creator. So if you feel like you're in a dark place, if you feel like I'm confused, I'm trying to get out of this, but I'm keeping on repeating the same cycles, maybe it's your time to answer to the call of God. Maybe it's your time to finally say yes. Because I know there's someone who's watching who God has been calling for a long time, but you just on your side be like, I don't want to do it. I don't know if you want me. He does. So, do you want your suffering to end? Maybe follow him. And I'm gonna be specific and say this. I'm not saying that when you follow him, life will be easy. No. But when you walk with him, life will have purpose. When you walk with him, you will have clarity. When you walk with him, even though it's hard, even though you don't know, even if you don't understand, even if you're like, I didn't know why it had to end like this. I didn't know why I had to lose my friend this way. I didn't know why my parent had to be mean to me that way. I don't know why I missed that opportunity. But you'll be like, it's okay. God is walking with me. It's okay. I can look on my left. He still has not let go of my hand. And there is peace that comes with knowing that even though it's hard, even though I don't know how to do this right, God is walking with me. So maybe this year, it's a year where you should accept that you have played a big part in your suffering. Maybe this year should be the year where you say, you know what, God, I have contributed greatly in my suffering. And I'm done. I'm done. I'm done being mad. I'm done being angry at people. I'm done being sad. I am done. And I feel like I got to that realization this year. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let's now do this your way. A life that is completely devoted to God will always look like God. A life that is completely devoted to him will always look like him. So, who do you want to look like this year? Do you want to look like you? Or do you want to look like God? So, tell me. God bless you.